I met Nancy Wells, our guest today, when I was in Denver recently. I was attending a series of meetings on co-housing. Now, I have explained what co-housing is in several episodes on this show, and I've interviewed actually the two people that I was there to see, architect Charles Durrett, who designs co-housing villages, communities, and Susie Schride, who was heading up a startup co-housing village in Denver. Nancy was there for the very first evening. We just hit it off. I understood she was there because she was looking for this type of environment for her family, herself and two daughters, and everybody's autistic to a certain extent, Nancy, right?
Yes.
Everybody's autistic to a certain extent. So living in a co-housing village is perfect because you can live together in the village and separately in houses. So it really satisfies both pieces of a parent being not worried, less worried about their kids because they're around, but not having to be day to day mom. You know, they have enough that they can deal with on their own or with aides. So that's how we met. And then, as always, I do the follow up. We talked, and there's a whole different dimension to Nancy Wells. So let me just read you, because we're going to go into an employment piece unlike we've ever discussed on this show before. So, Able Talks is a nonprofit serving autistic adults 21 plus, created by Nancy in 2015. Able Talks focuses on a triad of needs related to continuing education, mental health support, and work-life maneuvering. The goal of Able Talks is to allow individuals to become the experts in their own lives of what they want and how they want to live. So this is very encouraging. This led to an enormous talk on employment. Nancy is a professional licensed counselor, so licensed in the world of mental health,
Yes.
and now using those skills and that background as a counselor in employment, correct, for neurodivergent people.
Yes.
Okay, so just give us a little bit more information on Able Talks, and then I'm going to go right into the employment piece. What
O-
didn't I cover?
Okay. Well, with Able Talks, we do focus on education, vocation, socialization. And so that's where the work-life maneuvering, mental health supports, and continuing education come in. I believe that if you don't use it, you lose it. And so if you're not employed, if you aren't involved in a social circle, if there are things that you didn't get out of high school, and then this is a place where we can fill in those gaps. I like meeting new people, having them interview for a place in Able Talks, and we look at where are the gaps? What have you mastered? What have you yet to try? And what kind of workaround do we have to have in order for you to have the life, all encompassing life you can have in your community, as independent as you can possibly be?
The age limit is really no limit in terms of age, but the starting point is after high school, 21 plus.
It's 21 plus because I chose that partly because there is a maturity level and a life experience level that brings people together that has some commonality. But it's also 21 is when you lose everything. So if you are while you're in school, even in preschool, if you're diagnosed with autism, you are very likely involved with a speech therapist, occupational therapist,
Mm,
mental health therapist,
it's true.
behavior specialist. It's a whole team. And the team goes away instantly when you graduate from high school or when on your 21st birthday. Then it's a whole different world, which is commonly called the drop off, the
Hmm.
drop off cliff of services. And boy, that hit. I was told about it, I was educated about it, and still I fell off the cliff. My daughter and I to get my youngest daughter and I together had nothing. And so that's when I thought we need to fill something in. And I thought it would be temporary, but we've been doing this for 10 years now. And it's something that people keep showing up to regularly because they have things to offer, and then we offer them some things too.
Okay, so I mean, you and I are thinking alike on this. The whole reason for this show is because when kids graduate from high school, and it's not necessarily at 18 if you're neurodivergent, it just depends on, what else you need beyond 18 years old. It could be as high as 21. I understand. My nephew did graduate at 18, though, but to your point and to my observation, all that network goes away. Your friends, they still live in the community, but because you don't all show up for school every day and are involved in school activities where you have community, you don't have any of that anymore. You're in the house.
Absolutely right. Yes.
And you have your family, but your family goes to work. Generally, if they're not retired, your family goes to work, your family drives, your family goes places. Now, some people can drive, some people can't. It just depends on what your challenges are. So, right there with you. And then you're expected to work if you are able to be sociable enough to go to work, but what do you do? And so this transitions into what I really want to start with in the employment piece, and that is job versus career.
Yes.
We never talk about career when we're talking to certain types of neurodivergent people. It's just what kind of job can we get? And it's an hourly wage job. So you use the word career though.
Yes.
Please talk about that.
Well, I talk about it because everybody has their first job, the entry level job. But unfortunately, with individuals with disability, many neurodiverse thinkers, um, we don't think beyond that. Employers don't think beyond that. I mean, it's rare for anybody to say career. And the way I see it, and the way I see it happening, you get that first job, that's fantastic. But you don't want that job when you're 30, 40, 50. You don't want, you want some variety. You want to know you can do better. What inspires you to do better if you don't see something else? So at Able Talks, we talk about whatever it is the dream, whatever your dream is, whatever the dream is, if it's way out there, that's fine. We look at it, we talk about it, we learn about it, but we come back to where we are, and then we go to the next step, and then the next step. And it's not always career. Sometimes it's independent living. Sometimes it's
Mm.
furthering your education, getting certificates. A lot of it is learning what is out there for adults. What services do you qualify for? What can even the playing field? What can give you a chance? Because we really, as a society, have not set that up. There are some corporations that do look at, they've gone beyond, let's hire individuals with disabilities and now look at, let's appreciate the way their brains work. Let's appreciate what's happening. How can we promote them? Yes, that's what I want. But everybody has to have something to look forward to and work for.
Hope. Hope is so important. I don't care who you are. Hope is important to get up in the morning and feel good about starting your day. And it's so easy to lose hope. So much needs to be changed about the way society looks at neurodivergent people, especially, I mean, autism is huge. You either see characteristics, they're obvious for people who are autistic, or you don't because they're easily masked. But you can see Down syndrome. You can with my nephew who was born with brain damage. You can see that in the face and how he speaks. But he has improved light years beyond college. And so I'll give you an example of not boxing people in, not saying that because you're neurodivergent, you can only do this one hourly wage job for your entire life. Nancy, John is my co-host, came to me and said, Aunt Judy, I have an idea for a sponsor for the show. And I said, who? And he said, Worldwide Wrestling.
Great.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. First of all, he loves worldwide. It's now worldwide entertainment. The
Mhm.
world knows it as worldwide wrestling. And so
Mhm.
he loves it. And it's perfect for neurodivergent people because it's storybook. It's a story, it's characters, it's you know how it's going to end up. Not only, Nancy, was that a great idea, and I don't limit him at all. He can say and think and offer whatever he wants. He called them. He found the phone before I wanted to tape him doing the pitch. He called them first and left a message on Stephanie McMahon's phone number, who is the daughter of Vince McMahon. Her grandfather, Vince McMahon Sr., started Worldwide Wrestling. Anyway, this is about not putting limitations on people. And that's what you're saying, not putting limitations on people.
Yes, absolutely. We start with, we have to change the thinking that, I have to change the thinking that our members come in with. This is a turning point for them. They come from school, they come from organized programs, they come from organized supports, and then they feel a little free, and free does not feel comfortable for the
Mm.
first time. And so we work on, what do you want? What do you value? What do you value in yourself? Because they have to be the spokesperson for themselves. As I said, they're the experts of their lives, and they have to believe in that. And that's just the arena I know where to start. If they believe that they can move up and achieve what they want to in their lifetime, then they can convince others. And they'll, that's where it's got to start, just like your nephew.
Wow. What do you believe in for yourself?
Mhm.
That's introspection.
Absolutely.
Nobody asks them to be introspective.
Mhm.
Again, depending on the level of, what the issues are. Nobody even thinks about that.
The turning point for me, the reason why this went from just something to do in an afternoon to an actual organization with a purpose, was listening to an autistic adult at my dining room table say, I could do anything if people just understood autism and then gave me the extra time I need to get it done. The thinking is different, but it is so unique and so valuable. People that understand an autistic mind, a neurodiverse mind, they get it and they use it, and they
Hmm.
see the advantage, and I'll say value. I say value a lot because that's what it is. They're fantastic.
They are fantastic. I do think, even though the diagnosis was that John was born with brain damage, now that I know a lot more about autism, I think he has autistic qualities. I really do, because his other traits are he can catalog things. We noticed this in his 20s. He had an interest in owls.
Mhm.
You could talk about every owl known to mankind. Then it went to fish. There was that. Now it's elephants, now that it's incredible what he catalogs. He taught himself better vocabulary by watching his favorite rapper, Tupac Shakur, do interviews, and he put on the closed caption
Ah,
on the video. And all of a sudden, and Nancy, I talk to him every single week. I mean, before the show, I always talk to him. And all of a sudden, I'm noticing he's using vocabulary words that only a sophisticated adult would use, and he's using them correctly.
they're
And I
going down.
said, okay, we have to stop here. What happened? How did you grow in a week since I last talked to you? It just like popped. Do you find that sometimes there could be these giant steps forward in a short period of time that you never even expected to see?
Absolutely. And I've seen this. My children are in their 30s. So I've seen it in my own family, and then in other people, where you think, well, that's it. And then out of nowhere, they shoot to the moon. And is it interest? Is it just the exposure? Is it just time in the wiring? I don't know, but it's fantastic to watch. And it lets us know it never stops. It never stops.
No, it never stops. So when I was in Denver, where I met you, I had lunch with a two people that I've already interviewed on the show, so I could say their names. Carrie Phillips, who's a licensed social worker, and her brother Tony, who is Down syndrome. Now, Tony is living in a host home right now. I met his mother, Nancy was her name, so we all had lunch together. Carrie and he have had this really special relationship since they were kids. She can like read his mind. She's 2 years older than him. And so she spoke for him a lot, which I find happens
Mhm.
in siblings when one person can't really express themselves for a reason. The other sibling who may be right zoned in can speak for them. This is what they want. Anyway, Tony, living in a host home, is an artist, though, a fine artist, and he paints and he really wants to sell his stuff. At lunch, if I were blind, I would not know he had Down syndrome
Mhm.
by the level of conversation that we had.
That's
And even Carrie, who is such a lovely, dear person and so polite and wants to be respectful, she was trying to get him not to engage in conversation so that I could just talk. I'm like, no, this is a conversation. I want to talk to him. And then, we just unleashed him and we had a brilliant time.
yeah.
So, yes, no holds barred, no limitations. They do more than we think. And actually, I thought of why don't we have a think tank of all neurodivergent people and put them in front of corporations? I mean, no fear filter.
Absolutely.
Just talk, just create, just give us some ideas. And I think the world's our oyster, Nancy. I think it is because
We
we
did a-
believe in
yeah,
the
and
potential.
we did a little bit of that, and we called it an Ask the Experts panel, and invited, actually, this was in Arkansas, and we invited some churches that had started and but they were fairly new. They're special needs ministries,
Oh,
and they had great questions. They set up different locations to meet each week just to give it variety. Well, then my panel said, well, for these reasons, this doesn't work. Try doing it this way. Try letting people know ahead of time. Always let them have menus. Understand, and they had certain restaurants, no noises, smells, things like that. And some of it was, I think the most valuable was that when the churches would say, well, we're trying this, and they'd go, just not appropriate for our needs. And they were just incredibly valuable. And so
wow.
I like doing that because I love standing back and just watching the wisdom. Often,
Standing back and watching the wisdom.
often we meet weekly, and so often I will click
Mm,
off that button and go, why am I the only person getting the benefit of all this? Because it's a beautiful experience to
mhm.
be with different thinkers and to be able to share and to be in a safe environment. That's something that Able Talks absolutely makes a priority. We are a safe environment under all circumstances.
Explain that more.
Well, I tell people we have one rule to our group, because once you are a member once a member, always a member of Able Talks. We have a code of conduct. It's our only rule, and that is 24/7. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter the platform or in person, you treat someone else the way you deserve to be treated. Period. And so, if there's an infraction, which there hardly ever is, but if there is a problem,
Mhm.
then you are excused from being with the group until you make the amends. And I really like this because we don't practice this enough. We don't practice truly, working through conflict resolution and working through a sincere apology, and then understanding when you're forgiven, it's done. And it's beautiful to watch everybody interact very honestly, tell their truth in a kind way, and then we move on. And so I can't even remember why I started on that.
Well, forgiving. Let me just pick up on that one word, forgiving. Um, yes, because even though I'm very close with John, once in a while I might say something that's offensive to him because I'm just not thinking, I'm not filtering. Um, and he will say to me, Aunt Judy, you hurt my feelings. I wish you wouldn't say that, whatever that was. Um, Oh, I know how it goes. First of all, he reacts negatively.
Okay,
He
of
gets
course.
mad at me. He gets mad. Well, like who wouldn't? Okay, you're offended, you get mad. And then he'll come back and say, I want to apologize for being disrespectful to you, but this is why I reacted as I did. This is my feel. And I'm like, totally get it. I am so sorry. I will really work hard for that not to happen again. And Nancy, I was in a leadership group on Wednesday morning. The one networking group that I religiously am in, and there was a gal talking about acceptance. I forget the full scope of her talk. She was brilliant, and then, but this is 2 days later, so
Right.
the whole essence of it left. The only thing that I remember, because it's cogent to this conversation, is when I explained what I do. I have a YouTube show creating communities for neurodivergent people. Um, she was saying, "So how do you communicate with them? How do you sound respectful?" I said, "You treat them like everybody else."
Respect. That's
You
it.
you just you don't change who you are. You don't change the language, you don't change the tone of voice. You look them in the eye and you just talk to them. And they'll explain to you if they don't understand what you're saying, but there's no difference. Nothing special, right?
No, it's a human being. Treat them as a you
Yeah.
would a human being. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's and that's the environment I like to create. I truly, when I started the group, I only came up with that one idea and thought, oh, I'll figure out as we go along. But if everyone is following the code of conduct, they're working at their best.
Mm-hmm.
They're at their best, and so it works. I do say, because we do have a social aspect, but we are 21 and over. And so I tell everybody, treat this as it would be your work break room. You can
Mm.
be casual to a point. And
Right.
then we have to mold, I mean, we have to figure things out for people with different interests and things like that. But
Right.
that's great practice. It's fantastic practice. And I get to
Mm-hmm.
see it work every Wednesday night. It's wonderful.
You work in the world of joy, Nancy. You do. So I'm starting to too. This is great.
Oh,
Now, I want to talk about your approach to employment. So, do you remember when we were talking? There were 4 points that you made. Should I say them, or are these your four normal points that you always
please,
talk about?
please do.
Okay. Know yourself. You already said that. Know yourself. This is self-actualization by knowing yourself. Number two, what are your future goals? You map that out. And so you can go over this full more.
Right.
Number three, who establishes the framework of possibilities? That's what I put as number three. So think about that a second. And then number four, how is the working relationship formed? You are the expert. That's right. How do we get person who wants a job with person who can give a job? Forge the employer employee. So that's your four-prong approach you were talking about.
Okay.
So let's start with know yourself because you mentioned it earlier, but it's so unique to say that about a neurodivergent person. Know yourself.
Mhm. Well,
How?
I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it, and it helped me as a parent to look at what I give to other people and how they should see themselves. But it is important for everybody to know their strengths and to know their weaknesses, and so so that we can build on who we are. You definitely have to know your diagnosis. You have to know what because how do I say this? Because those are going to be the strengths and the weaknesses. Like when we talk about autism,
Mhm.
it's attention to detail. They're incredible at making sure that they're on time and honest. I could go on and on and on, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
can't be under pressure. There's certain environmental things that have to come into play. And you need to know that so that you know your chances of succeeding in a job. I think I gave the example of a young woman who was very upset, very distraught. She was in college and I'm just really just breaking down. And we had to talk about what it is she wanted. And she said, I want to be a meteorologist, but I can't pass the classes. And I said,
Mm.
fine. Okay. So a meteorologist is way out here, but we lived near the at the time I lived near Joplin, Missouri. I lived in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I was talking to her about the Joplin tornado that was so disastrous. And I said,
Hmm.
the meteorologists who were boots on the ground right there, right after it happened. But you've got the guy who loads the water bottles to deliver water to people. And then there's hundreds of jobs in between.
Mm.
So, what can you do along the line as you try to become a meteorologist? And she changed her major. She focused on becoming the job she wanted, and she ended up getting a job at the Storm Center. Not a meteorologist, but she found job satisfaction along the way. And
But she was dealing with weather. I mean, that's what a meteorologist does. They deal with weather. So there's more than one way to deal with weather, which leads me in this particular point, number one, with this question to you. There are hard skills and soft skills. So the hard skills are maybe they include the executive function skills with math, with reading, things like that. But then you have the soft skills, which are equally important, and that is how you deal with people.
yes,
That's a
absolutely.
huge soft skill.
And it is it's very difficult. A lot of it has to be taught. It's not going to be picked up. And but there is also needs to be an understanding that certain different people deliver their soft skills in different ways. A long time ago, people would talk about autistic people not having empathy. Not true. It's a different way of sharing it and a different level. Um,
Hmm.
and then some things have to be taught, and it takes a long time to be taught. So when it comes to employment, that's something to consider. We certainly don't, somebody that's not extroverted and wants to be on camera is not going to be the spokesperson for yada yada yada.
Hmm.
But so we work with this goes back to self-actualization, and that's what can you do, and what should you not do?
And also, in this day and age where employment has changed so much. Many jobs have gone away, more jobs are going to go away. I think we actually have to create concepts for jobs out of our skills and talents that we don't, our likes and desires that we don't even think we can make a job out of. I'm just going to give you an example. Not that he wants to do it, but I thought this was a great idea for John. He's, I use him for everything now. John loves doing laundry.
Okay.
So this is why I think there's autistic tendencies in him because it's regimented. It's a process. He loves folding the clothes. I mean, come on, that there's something to that. My mother was the best folder ever. And now that I know more about autism, I think she had autistic tendencies. And he loves senior citizens. He loves being kind to senior citizens and making sure they're okay and developing conversation with them. So I said, John, in your area, you have all these senior homes going up.
Mhm.
Would you like to offer your services? Now, you have to be a little entrepreneur here, but offer your services to different developments for people who have no family left, but have all the money in the world to live in a nice facility. At a certain point, our bodies don't allow us to carry heavy things, so they can't do their own laundry. You could go there, do their laundry, and sit and talk with them, visit with them while the laundry's being done. Okay, he doesn't want to do it, but that's what I'm talking, but that's an idea that I'm talking about. You take something that's just something you do that gives you pleasure. There's a soft skill in that.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that would be an amazing job.
For somebody else listening, yes, it could. Now that John doesn't want it, and he's only in Pittsburgh, so you can do it in your own hometown. But see, Nancy, this is what I'm talking about. There's so much that can be done in employment. if you put no limits on yourself and the sky's the limit on creativity.
I think if employers are willing to look at job descriptions and be a little more fluid, you could add more responsibilities where the strengths lie and then maybe delegate somewhere else where the weaknesses are. I also am, I can't say enough about mentoring at any level.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I do believe that companies need, I think that would be, it would be accepting. I mean, I think it would be welcomed at
Hmm.
companies to designate volunteer mentors just to check on people. In this day and age, we need to check on everybody,
Don't
not
we?
just autistic, employees, but everybody. But a mentor, I've seen too many times where because the job description was not followed exactly the way somebody perceives, and it would take just the smallest change for success. I've
Yeah.
seen it happen too many times that if somebody could just walk by and go, "You okay?" and take 2 minutes,
Yeah.
it could change the week. It could change productivity. We want to feel valued, and that needs to be already written in to a job. I do work a lot in mentoring. I work with peer mentoring programs, but on in a company, it would be fantastic.
It would be fantastic.
And they're
And
probably out there, and kudos to those that do it.
I don't know what the size of the company is that would be right to really start with this. I've never worked in corporate America, and I am told that the bigger the company, the harder it is to be flexible. But I don't know, Microsoft, I think, is flexible from everything I understand about their mentoring program, bringing in neurodivergent people. But it's a whole thing we need to tackle. All right, let's go to number two,
Sorry. Okay.
making future goals.
You have to have it. You have to have something to look forward to. You need something to aspire to. And I actually meet neurodiverse adults that don't dream in that arena because something or someone along the way let them know, "Well, don't bother because it's not there. Don't do this because you might lose your services." No,
Oh,
there are ways
right.
around it all. There are ways around it all. And there you can be employed and you can surrender your services for a period of time. And then if the need comes back, then you come back and you learn how to, it's not lost forever and it's worth taking that chance. But in saying you have to have a goal to join Able Talks, you have to have a goal. If you don't have one, I help you, but there is something you're going to look forward to. And for many members, it's employment at the highest level you can imagine. And for some, it's just achieving what you can do. It's not necessarily employment, it's just living a better life. It's achieving what you want.
Okay. Afraid that you'll lose your benefits. I am sure this is at the core of a lot of people's thinking. And the fear of losing anything for any of us limits us. So, but what you just said was to achieve a higher goal, at least try. Maybe you have to surrender benefits for a minute if what those benefits give you can be augmented somewhere else.
Yeah. It's not something we think about or talk about a lot, and I get it. As a parent, the services that my daughter has gotten, I have one child that gets services, and those were hard won by her. Those were She deserved to be supported in any way she has been supported, and truly it takes a long time. Everyone knows waiting lists and denials and all this, and I get where there would be a fear there, but if you qualify for services, then you can get them again. And I actually heard somebody else say this. At the time, I think Social Security disability was 700 and something, and they said, if you could get a job making more than that, which one would make you happier? Go ahead and try. And I'm not speaking for everybody. This is not in every
Right,
scenario, but I
right.
can tell you that it was not in my head and my thoughts. And when I heard that, it was like, oh, why do we think this is a barrier? Let's do the best we can do.
Absolutely. And even my sister, John's mother, was saying, well, in order to get something from the regional center in the county in which they live, um, he has to have an aide X number of days a week to prove that he needs services. And I said, okay. But then when I listened to what the aide was supposed to be doing, I said, but that's not helping him. He knows how to do that. He knows how to be out in public. He doesn't need to go to the zoo to see how well he does. We've been to Disney World. There are more people at Disney World than there is at the Pittsburgh Zoo. So on a Tuesday. I mean, so what are we talking about here? Why can't we think of other things the aide can do to really address what his needs are if you have to have an aide? Um,
And this could get into something else, so I won't go too far.
what?
But these programs and these plans that are made, they have the word individual in them. All of them do. They have
Yes.
specific to you.
Oh, right.
Oftentimes some plans are written and parents, you're allowed to ask the questions. And those that are receiving the services, you're allowed to ask the questions and give, I know it's very hard because sometimes you don't even know what questions to ask. But
Mm-hmm. It's true.
when you know, oh, the zoo's not going to do it for me, I needed something more challenging, then that's when you get an individualized plan that works for you. Because remember, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. That's the famous quote.
That's right. No, you're absolutely right. Point well taken, Nancy.
And I think that's with any body or any diagnosis or any description.
I think so too. I think the backstory of every human being creates the individualism and it creates the connection between people because what you see is not what you get. What you see is window dressing. What you see is what we want to present with to get by. But you sit down and have a very open talk without the safety, providing safety, non-judgmental, providing a non-judgmental environment. And what people will share with you about their life experiences, all of a sudden it doesn't matter what your diagnosis is, your race, your gender, your culture, your religion. Now you're just two people connecting. And I mean, I just got chills. I love when that happens. I love. Nancy, number three, framework of possibilities, you've kind of touched on, but how do you deal with the framework of possibilities when you're dealing with each of your clients?
Well, I hope I'm answering this correctly, but what I do is I do a lot of us, I do an assessment and I am able to separate where tasks or responsibilities have been mastered, what hasn't been tried yet that might work, and we keep visiting it, and then areas where the skill might be missing, absolutely just not there. Um, Somebody would have to be hired for support, or we have so much smart technology,
Mm,
um, AI, and all that's coming on with that. Then there are a lot of things that can be brought in to supplement, again, so that we can concentrate on what you can do instead of beating our heads against the wall of what isn't going to be. Let's stop. Let's stop that. Sometimes it's just little tasks that keep you
mhm.
from here, but you have to be able to do everything to some degree. You have to be able to approach it. I mean, there are tasks I avoid like crazy. There's a pile of paper over here. I hate filing. I hate it. And it's not going to go away. So I've got to find a workaround because I used to have an assistant. I think I need another one.
I think you need a few millennials at all times around you. That's what my dream is. I just want to have a millennial stat whenever I need one. They know everything.
Oh, do it so fast.
I, I, I love millennials for that reason. But within the framework of possibilities, unless you try, you won't know how far you can go. And in the failing or falling, let's not say failing, in the falling or not really meeting the goal you want, you'll learn something else that may put you in another direction, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it, it's that's not reading, not being given an opportunity to even try
Mm-hmm.
where I want to be, where I want to fill in. And overall, as a parent, I think about what's it going to be like when I'm not here. I want to start these things now because that's inevitable. And so with that thought in mind, I look at the skills that happen in our family and what's missing, what needs to be supplemented, and those blessed skills that I don't have to worry about because they're mastered.
Well, okay, so you said what's going to happen when I'm not around. Of course, that's every parent's fear. And, I say we can mitigate that fear if we deal with now. If we
Absolutely.
make now the best it can be, that fear becomes smaller and smaller. And especially if you surround yourself with a community of people, co-housing, if you surround yourself with a community of people who are supportive, who care, who will pick up after you. So, okay, you're not available, but we are.
Right.
We're here to
Exactly.
help, and we love it. So,
Yes. Yes.
and number four, let's see, my writing. How is the working relationship forged? Okay, so you and I have talked about this, and we're starting to create ideas to make this better. But as it stands right now in the world of employment, is it just online applications? Is that all we've got?
Uh, You know what? It's what we've moved to, and we need to start a movement. And what Judy, what you brought up with recorded interviews, with
Mm-hmm.
video interviews, being able to take the time to really talk about yourself in a venue that is comfortable, where you can show your best self, is a
Mm-hmm.
great idea. It's going to take a lot. At this point, it's community building, and it's not necessarily for the autistic individual. That would be fantastic, but it's going to take grassroots, you and I, be
Yes.
in the streets and meeting people and letting them know, how valuable and fantastic this is. If we start doing more in the formats, doing interviews, or just, any expression in the formats where the autistic and the neurodiverse population is comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll take hold. I think it really will. I think you're onto something.
I do too. I actually really do. I thought about, and mentioned this a couple times on the show, but I thought of this months ago, and I was talking to a woman in Denver. I haven't posted her interview yet because it's for twice exceptional people, and my niche more is the opposite of that, and not people that need more help with functional skills. But I was thinking of that for anybody, to be honest with you. Put it on your LinkedIn page. If you can do it yourself, if you're not neurodivergent and you can just put the cell phone up and do it yourself. I don't think, I wonder if employers even find the online applications, Indeed, Monster.com, are they really that valuable?
It would be interesting to ask somebody, because there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, this morning we have an accountability hour where a group of us just get on and body double. We get on Zoom and do our whatever work needs to be done, so that if you have to tell somebody what you've done, you're a little more likely to do it. But one of the people that showed up had applied for four jobs just that morning, and it's nothing for a member to come to me and say, I filled in 25 yesterday. I submitted interviews, applications, and then they never hear back. So
Right.
something's not right. I don't know,
I
but
don't know, Nancy, I don't know when that happened. I mean, I'm working, doing my job. I haven't applied for a job in a million years, but when did the tide turn to you call somebody up who's a manager? Are you hiring? Can I come in and interview? To, Oh my God, we don't talk to anybody. There's no phone to call. When did that happen?
I don't know. And how do you know? You know, what it's how do you select one piece of, one thing from another? I don't know.
I don't know, but you know what? Part of the interview process is the person interviewing needs to like who they're going to work for. And that's why the one-on-one is so important. So I like the video interviews, and we'll talk more about this and set ourselves up to do this for people. Um, I like that because the applicant can express themselves, but the applicant needs to know, do they even want to work for the person interviewing them too? You know, it's a two-way street. And I think that's the other thing is with the self-actualization, with knowing yourself, you need to know yourself so well. What will you accept from a potential employer? I don't mean to be arrogant about it, but you get it. So onboarding and losing, what's the term when you lose employees too quickly in the first 90 days? The turnover, sorry, simple word, turnover. Um, in the turnover, it's, oh, this isn't what I expected, and they're gone.
Mhm.
So that doesn't work either.
No, 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 our new
Our
way.
new way is the way, Nancy. It's the new way.
It is.
Um, Okay, so the takeaways on this is hope is here.
Absolutely.
Hope is here. You have people here with new ideas for you that want to take a difficult situation and see what we can do with that for you
Absolutely.
because we believe in you.
That's right.
Tag a little tag message on top of that.
Well, because you're the expert of your life. So, I mean, believe that because nobody knows you better than you. And then that gets into and who you were meant to be is all good things. All good things.
All good things. That's so right. Ah, it's a great way to leave this conversation. This has been great, Nancy. So we're gonna follow up and talk about the path of the new way of looking for a job. And anybody listening to this, Nancy's contact information is going to be within the description of the show. And people know how to get, just subscribe to the show and you'll get in touch with me, but we're here to help. So come one, come all. Those of you who need help, we are here. We are here. Nancy is absolutely here and available. And it's not statewide, it's anywhere.
That's right.
Okay,
Right.
great. Great.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Oh
This was
man, thank you. I'm so happy. That trip to Denver was the best trip I've taken in quite a long time
was
because we got this relationship.
yes, absolutely. Thanks.
Uh, have a great rest of the day. You are coming back. There's more to talk about. And to all of you wonderful people listening, we will end as we always do. In the world of special needs people, we all need each other. Talk to you next week.